Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 482. 482. July the 5th, 2018, Thursday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Well, I hope you all are feeling okay today and recovered from your activities yesterday of July the 4th. Hopefully you all had a very good celebration of Independence Day. I know that I'm sure that all of my viewers here are conservatives or libertarians or freedom lovers of some sort. I don't think we have very many communists to watch. And I don't think that they had a very good time yesterday, because while we were all celebrating freedom and all the other things that we do on Independence Day, the Democrats basically put out a statement on the 4th about their feelings about Independence Day. And let's see, the Democrat Communist Party on the 4th of July message was the following: America sucks and it's Trump's fault. America sucks and it's Trump's fault. Okay, well, so we can assume that the Democratic Communist Party and their supporters all had a very, very bad day yesterday. Too bad for them, because I'm pretty sure we all had fun. In fact, they're still having fun around here. They must have had fireworks left over because they're still exploding. So if you hear bombs going off, that's my neighbors over here. They have plenty. Plenty of fireworks. Plenty left over. Okay. So, and also I wanted to comment on one other thing from yesterday. The Rotten Reverend Clinton's tweet about, sarcastic tweet about, yes, 242 years ago, we got together to form a more perfect union, and we're still working on it. Just kind of a sarcastic tweet she sent out yesterday, but she's actually wrong. 242 years ago, it was about the Declaration of Independence. It was about declaring our independence from England. We were still colonies back then, 13 to be exact. We hadn't even thought about a more perfect union. It was still 13 separate colonies at that point. And they signed a Declaration of Independence to declare their freedom and their independence from the motherland. It was in 1787 to 1789 that we began to form the more perfect union. That would be our Constitution. So the Rotten Reverend Clinton's a little bit senile, probably half drunk, and not quite thinking clearly. She got her dates mixed up and what we celebrate. We don't actually have, I guess we do have Constitution Day, I guess, which would have been September of 1789 when they completed the Constitution. But the more perfect union thing has to do with the Constitution, not with the Declaration. But you gotta give the Rotten Reverend a pass, because she's stupid and drunk, and she's the Rotten Reverend, and we don't like her very much. Not around here. Now, let's get to something here. What do the following individuals all have in common? Michael Caputo, Roger Stone, George Papadopoulos, Professor Mifsud, Mr. Clovis, Carter Page. What do they all have in common? Caputo, Stone, Papadopoulos, Mifsud, Clovis, and Page. What do all these individuals have in common? Well, let me tell you what they all have in common. They are all claiming to have been set up. All of them claiming to have been set up. Caputo says he was approached twice by Mr. Greenberg and told, I got some dirt on Hillary. Caputo said, no thanks. Maybe you want to talk to my friend Roger Stone. He's better with this kind of stuff. Give him a call. So later in that same month of May of 2016, Greenberg contacted Stone. Said, give me $2 million. I'll give you the dirt on Hillary. And Stone said, no thanks. Of course, we had Papadopoulos, and we know how that went down. Mr. Halper, the fat man, tried to get Papadopoulos to tell him that the Russians gave him dirt. But Papadopoulos smelled a rat, got very nervous, thought he was being, wired or recorded or something, and basically froze up and refused to say anything. He finally did say something to Alexander Down the Hatch Downer, but he didn't say it to Halper, which was the original plan. Then we have Mr. Mifsud, who for the longest time, as being noted as source B in the dossier, for the longest time denied that he had anything to do with denied any of the statements in the dossier that are being alleged that he said or that he did. He denies that he told Papadopoulos anything about the Russians having dirt on Hillary. He denies it all. But in his most recent interview, here back about a month and a half, 2 months ago, he too is now stating that he believes Mr. Mifsud, believes that he was used or set up. Mr. Clovis now believes that he was used or set up. Carter Page believes that he was used or set up. All these individuals believe that they were used or set up. And who were the individuals who came in contact with them that they believe set them up? Well, that would be Mr. Greenberg, who we know is not actually named Mr. Greenberg. That's an alias. He's a Russian national who essentially is an agent of the U.S. government. We know that 100% for sure because he's admitted to it both verbally in court under oath and in documents, legal documents. And we know, of course, he's had these special visas that you only get if you're a government informant. So we know Mr. Greenberg was working for the government. Then we have Mr. Halper, Stefan Halper, the fat man. And of course we know that he too is an agent of the government. In fact, both governments likely, both the British government and the U.S. government. Then we have Mr. Downer. We know that he is also an agent of the government. We know he is on the board of Hackloot, the private intelligence firm. We know he has close connections to British intelligence as well as American State Department officials. All three of these individuals also have one thing in common. They were the individuals who tried to set up the individuals I mentioned earlier, Caputo, Stone, Papadopoulos, Mifsud, Clovis, and Page. And all three of these individuals apparently are agents of the government, of some government, or some intelligence agency of a government. That is why Devin Nunes keeps on digging, and the rest of those guys, because they know that there's something wrong. There's something wrong when you have every one of these guys saying, hey, I believe I was set up. At the time when this guy approached me, I don't know, a lot of people approached me during the campaign with all kind of crazy stuff. Everybody's trying to give you dirt on your opponent, so it didn't strike me as being that unusual. But then when you sit back and look at it now, a couple years in the rearview mirror, and you can see all the things that we've learned, now it becomes pretty obvious to all these individuals that they, were being set up. I mean, Mr. Clovis didn't realize when Halper stopped by for a chat why he was really there. Carter Page didn't understand why Mr. Halper was so interested in him at the time. It was only after the fact that he could look back and see all the things that happened and go, oh, okay, so now I know why he really wanted to talk to me. Not because he was interested in talking foreign policy or energy or anything else. Mr. Mifsud, who's obviously got his own connections to all these various spy agencies, was obviously someone that they pulled as a resource to use. And at the time, he may or may not have known what his role in this plot was. But at this point, what he is saying is that he feels like he too was used or set up. A lot of questions for Mr. Mifsud, that's for sure. Of course, Papadopoulos, it's pretty obvious he was set up. Of course, we know that Caputo and Stone, from what they've stated under oath, is that it surely looks like they too were someone trying to set them up. And it was all three of these individuals, Mr. Greenberg, his alias, along with Mr. Halper and Mr. Downer, all three connected to all the same people, and all three connected to governments and intelligence. This tells you everything you need to know. This is really it, right here. If you want to know why Devin Nunes continues to dig, and why he's not going to stop, and why these other members in Congress continue to dig, and they're not going to stop requesting documents, requesting witnesses, and pushing and pushing and pushing, it's because this is obvious to anybody with a little common sense that there's something going on. You can say these guys were informants. You can say they were spies, human resources. What you would call them, label them anything you like. It's not about what their labels were. It's about what they were doing. And it's going to be a very difficult sell to say, well, they were actually working for the government, try to investigate Russia's meddling in the election. Oh yeah, if that's the case, then why weren't they spying on the Rotten Reverend Clinton's campaign? Why didn't they put spies in her campaign to protect her? Because it had nothing to do with anything about the Russians. There were no Russians. Mr. Weiner is not a Russian, is he? Mr. Halper is not a Russian, is he? Because it appears that all this evidence, that all this information was supposedly used to put together the dossier came from right there at Confusion GPS with Bruce and Nellie Orr, Glenn Simpson and his wife Mary Jacoby, Christopher Steele, and his folks around him, which appears to be, we're not seeing any Russians. Mr. Mifsud's not a Russian. He's Maltese. Mr. Milian, we have, of course, Mr. Greenberg now. We have Mr. Halper, Mr. Downer. These are not Russians. Nor do any of them say that they got their information from Russians. You see, it is exactly what it looks like. As I've said many times, if it looks like a duck, if it barks like a duck, if it waddles like a duck, it's probably a freaking duck. Most likely. It's exactly what it is. Every one of these guys feels like they were set up. And then when you look at the individuals who they say set them up, they all work for some government agency, intelligence agency, or something like that. Pretty obvious what was going on here. They were being set up, yes, and the people who were setting them up were working for who? Government agencies. Thereby, government agencies were trying to set up members of the Trump campaign. You see how easy that is? It's a simple equation. It's simple math. Now, let's get on to Imran Awan. Had some really good comments in the comments section from yesterday. I mentioned Imran Awan off the hook, and I know a lot of you respectfully, I guess, disagree with that, which is fine. It's great. That's why we have a comment section. I don't know everything, right? So I can't follow all these stories, and I haven't followed the Imran Awan story as closely as probably many of you have. I talk about it from time to time, and I have kind of watched it, but it's kind of out there on the peripheral for me. I'm focused primarily on the Spygate or Obamagate or whatever you want to call it, the spying on the Trump campaign and that type of thing. But the Imran Awan thing is something that I do pay some attention to. I've been following Luke Rosiak mostly because he's primarily the one who's following it. His articles appear in Daily Caller pretty regularly. So anyway, he's primarily the source, but I don't follow it maybe as closely as a lot of you do. But there was a lot of very good comments in the comment section about a lot of you folks who believe that, of course, I'm pretty skeptical. As you know, I kind of think Imran Awan is going to walk along with all those 40-plus Democrats, along with Debbie Blabbermouth Wasserman Schultz, and I don't really see anything more coming of it. I think it's pretty much a closed deal. But I recognize that from the comments section, reading your comments, many of you feel differently. And a lot of you feel like, yeah, well, I think that Mr. Huber is over there in Utah, and that what happened is Imran Awan, this is the explanation many of you give, is that Imran Awan, they only dealt with his financial related issues, and all the other stuff they put off to the side. Many of you believe that was passed on to Mr. Huber, who is in Utah, who is going to eventually indict or use Imran Awan to turn him to get other people or whatever. So many of you feel that Mr. Huber down there in Utah, over there in Utah, wherever Utah is, that Mr. Huber is actually handling a lot of the other stuff with Imran Awan that wasn't dealt with in the court hearing that we just finished up with, that we talked about yesterday. And I hope a lot of you are right. I hope you are right. I really do. I would love it if you guys were all right. And I hope you are. But I'll tell you why I'm skeptical. Obviously, I'm skeptical because I don't believe anything happens really unless there's a lot of public pressure. And I just haven't seen a lot. Not even a lot of pressure from the Congress on this. By some people, yeah, Louis Gohmert and a few other people really been pushing the Imran Awan thing, but just not enough. You know, it's 5 or 6 handful of guys is not enough. And then I look at Fast and Furious, the IRS scandal, the Rotten Reverend Clinton, the Uranium One deal, all things which there's massive amounts of evidence, plenty of evidence to convict, but none of these people were ever held accountable. And again, because it takes so much public pressure, and that is why the members of these committees that Devin Nunes and Goodlatte and Gowdy and all these guys The reason why I have some confidence that the Spygate thing may produce some criminal indictments is because these guys are pushing hard. They want to get their investigation done. They want to get the documents. They want to get the witnesses. They want to produce the report. They know when the report goes to the AG, that's Rodenstein. Rob Rodenstein ain't going to do shit, and they know it. But what they're hoping for is they produce the report, and then they're going to be relying on all of us to contact our representatives, our senators, and to say, hey, that report by the House Intelligence Committee or the House Oversight Committee was damning. They've given criminal referrals to the AG. They must act on this. These people need to be prosecuted. They're going to be counting on public support to push it once they've released the report to force action. That is what the Congress, because they know that even if they come up with compelling evidence and give it to Rodenstein, that he's not going to do anything without a lot of public pressure. I mean, McCabe's got a criminal referral. Has anybody heard about anything happening to McCabe? Not yet. Maybe it will, but it hasn't happened yet. Maybe Mr. Huber has got that too. But at this time, I would like to think that Mr. Huber is doing something. I mean, he's still there, as far as we know. I've not heard that they've dismissed him or whatever, so we assume that Mr. Huber is still there, still working, and he may have sealed indictments on hundreds of people for all we know. I don't know. That's just what I'm saying. I really don't know. And I'm a little queasy about faith-based belief in these sort of things. You know, I really need some evidence or something for me to feel that way, besides just internet sleuths type individuals putting out information, which again can't ever really be verified. It's just you got to trust these people. I have a very low threshold for trusting just people, internet sleuths, and things like that. I have a tendency to follow the hard facts that I can get, that I can wrap my brain around. So anyway, I hope that it is true that Mr. Huber is doing these indictments, and I hope that all happens. It will be fantastic. It should happen. It honestly should happen, and it very well may be happening. It's just that I haven't seen any evidence of it. And until I do, I'm going to be questioning it. But let me just mention just a couple things, direct quotes from the Department of Justice statement on the Imran Awan situation as it went down day before yesterday. In their statement, the Department of Justice said, in regards to the plea deal that Imran Awan did for the one count of bank fraud, the Department of Justice statement says, quote, "It found no evidence that Imran Awan illegally removed House data from the House network or from House members' offices, or stole the House Democratic Caucus server, or stole or destroyed House information technology equipment, or improperly accessed or transferred government information." That's the Department of Justice statement regarding the Imran Awan plea deal. They found no evidence that Imran Awan illegally removed House data from the House network or from House members' offices, nor stole the House Democrats' server, caucus server, nor that he stole or destroyed House information technology equipment, or improperly accessed or transferred government information. That's all the other stuff. The DOJ is saying that they found no evidence of the other stuff. They didn't just not comment on it at all. They didn't say we chose to prosecute or cut a deal with Imran Awan on the things dealing with the money, the bank fraud or whatever, and we've passed all the other things on to another agency within the Department of Justice or whatever. They didn't just not say nothing. They didn't say that they did something else. They said exactly what they did. They found no evidence that Imran Awan illegally removed House data from the House network or from House members' offices, stole the House Democratic Caucus server, stole or destroyed House information technology equipment, or improperly accessed or transferred government information. They found no evidence of any of those things. That's what the Department of Justice is saying about Imran Awan. They found no evidence of any of these other things, and these are all the other things that some of us believe has gone to Mr. Huber to look into. According to the Department of Justice, they have no evidence of any of it. And they don't say anything about they don't lay out the statement and then say, but just in case, we have passed it on to Mr. Huber to take a look at, or some other prosecutor. They make no reference to that at all. The way they reference this is, as far as they're concerned, they found no evidence of any of these things. And these are all the other things, and the things that would deal with intelligence, transferring intelligence to other information, to other entities, all that information, all that equipment that we know they stole. They see no evidence of it. We know they did it. We had the proof. There's a $500 limit. Anything over $500, you have to include serial numbers. So they started buying all kinds of stuff, and the dollar amount on every piece they bought was $499. A router, $499. A mouse pad, $499. This piece, that piece, $499. A whole sheet of $499 purchases. But they can find no evidence but they found no evidence that they stole or destroyed house information technology equipment, despite the fact that we had an actual eyewitness who went to the property where they were at and said in the garage they got stacks and stacks and stacks of boxed computer equipment, servers, PCs, everything you can think of. So, I mean, I don't know. You tell me. I'm just reading to you what the Department of Justice said. Let's keep in mind that Debbie Blabbermouth Wasserman Schultz's brother is the district attorney in the District of Criminals. Isn't that nice? We also learned from this particular statement by the Department of Justice that in order to prosecute Imran Awan for all that stuff he did regarding the Democratic caucus and all those 41, 42, 43 Democrat members of Congress, that for them, I guess, to be able to prosecute, they would have had to have pressed charges. Because essentially, that equipment they're saying belongs to them, to the Democratic caucus in the House of Representatives. They would have had to have said, yes, we want to press charges against Imran Awan for stealing all our stuff. But they chose not to press charges. It's right here. The government, the 40 some odd members of Congress whose equipment was alleged to have been stolen by Imran Awan have all refused or decided not to press charges against Imran Awan for the theft of all that equipment. So, because the Democrats wouldn't press charges against Imran Awan, even though I don't know why they have to press charges, the money that he stole, yeah, it came from the equipment from the caucus, the Democrat National Caucus within the House, but it was taxpayer paid for. The money came from the taxpayers. It shouldn't have been up to the 40 members of Congress to decide, especially if they could be possibly implicated in some crime or negligence or carelessness or whatever. But that's what they're saying. That the members of Congress, these 40 members of Democratic Congress, did not want to press charges against Imran Awan. Then we get the actual statement from the judge to the attorney for Imran Awan. And the judge said to Mr. Gowan, who is the attorney for Imran Awan, he said, quote, "The government has uncovered no evidence that your client violated federal law with respect to house computer systems." That's what the judge said to Mr. Imran Awan's attorney. The government has uncovered no evidence that your client violated federal law with respect to house computer systems. Keep in mind that lawyer Chris McGowan is a former top aide to the rotten Reverend Clinton. It's Hillary's lawyer. That's who's representing Imran Awan. And let's not forget that in the hearings, in the initial hearings, in regards to, you remember that laptop computer that Imran Awan left mysteriously in that like phone booth in that building across the street from where the Congress meets, and they found it and they confiscated it. And then we had that meeting where Debbie Wasserman Schultz threatened that police chief and saying, yes, that's my laptop, I want my laptop back. And he said, we're holding it for evidence. And she, of course, got into a bitter little discussion with him about that. And he said, we're holding it or whatever. And then we found out that they weren't able to look into it, into that laptop computer to get information from it, but they were holding it, trying to get a warrant that would allow them to look at that laptop. So in regards to that laptop, Mr. Imran Awan's attorney, Mr. Gowan, appealed to the judge, and he said, essentially Gowan told the judge that there was really no need to look at that laptop of Debbie Blabbermouth Wasserman Schultz that was taken by D.C. Metro Police, and that was a request he made of the court. He requested to the court that, I'm requesting that you not look at that laptop that the D.C. police are holding because there's really no need for you to look at it, really. And at that point, the prosecutors prosecuting Imran Awan never challenged that request. They never challenged it. They never said, what do you mean? We got a lot of reasons to look at that laptop. There's been crimes committed here. The evidence could be on that laptop. Imran Awan left that laptop specifically because there's probably evidence on it, something he wanted us to know. There's a lot of reasons to look at that laptop. But when Gowan told the judge that there was no real need to look at it and made the request that they not look at it, the prosecutors for Imran Awan, or for the government in this case, the prosecutors against Imran Awan working for the government, never challenged the request and never looked at that laptop. It's never been looked at. My guess is Imran Awan or Debbie Blabbermouth Wasserman Schultz probably got it back now, especially now the case is over, unless you believe that Mr. Huber is still looking at things. But when I read the statement from the Department of Justice and I look at everything that I see here, I don't see it. I'm glad many of you do. You're a lot more optimistic than I am. I really hope you're right and that I am wrong. So thank you so much for those comments regarding Imran Awan and what's going on there. I really appreciate it. Continue to leave more comments like that. Anything that you can leave there, even if it's different from what I believe, that's why we're all here. I can't follow everything. If you have more information, if you believe something that's maybe different from what I believe, please put it in the comment section. I'm happy to read it. And I hope you're all right. Now, let's move on. So, Rodenstein has until the 6th. That would be Friday. Or impeachment. He doesn't care. At this point, I don't think he's turning over a damn thing. I don't think he cares if he gets impeached, because it would take about a year for the impeachment hearings to happen. By then, it's a moot point. So he's playing run the clock out, and I think he feels pretty good in that strategy. And I guess he feels that he's not going to be fired because Trump, Rodenstein knows that Trump's been told that if you fire Sessions or Rodenstein, that there are enough senators in the Senate, including Republicans, who've stated they will not confirm a replacement. You will have no replacement. If you fire Sessions, Rodenstein becomes the acting attorney general from now until the end of your presidency, even if it's 2 terms. We'll never confirm another attorney general. That's what he's been told, so Rodenstein feels like he's protected. He's got total protection. That's why he's acting like he is. He feels like he's got total protection. So do you think that Rodenstein, by Friday, day after tomorrow, is going to turn over that stuff? If he doesn't, we're told that they are going to have an impeachment vote on the floor. We will see. We will see. We still have Strzok. Peter's been stroking us. We still have his attorney still saying, as of yesterday, that that his client is at this time looking at not answering the subpoena. In other words, he's not planning on showing up. It's eventually he is going to show up because they can bring some pressure here. And I really don't know what's worse for Peter Ben Strokinus. I don't know how he wins in this deal. If he doesn't show up for the subpoena, they just continue to apply more pressure, and they certainly can. And eventually he has to show up, and then he's like a hostile witness. If he shows up when he eventually does show up, he's going to do one of 2 things. He's either going to answer questions or not answer questions, plead the 5th. Either way, If he answers questions, he's going to get shredded. If he doesn't answer questions and he clams up and pleads the fifth, he's going to look very, very guilty and very bad. And I'm not sure even how he can even do that, seeing as how he's still, as far as we know, an employee of the FBI. There is no way for Peter Van Strokenus to win in this deal, unless he believes that he's slick enough that he can sit there and spin the entire country and say all those things that he said, that he didn't actually mean them, and that they had no impact on his investigation. The investigation that exonerated the rotten Reverend Clinton for her obvious crimes, while at the same time launching lures, setup people, agent provocateurs into the Trump campaign in an effort to frame him. But no, all those statements had nothing to do with any of that. Good luck. Peter Van Strokenus has no way to come out of this thing smelling like anything but a bucket of poop. Hey, Trump approval is up 10 points with Hispanics since the anti-ICE protest. All this stuff started happening now about 3 weeks ago. About 3 weeks ago. And in that time, just in that time period alone, less than 30 days of all these anti-ICE protests and all these things where they're trying to play Trump off as Hitler, locking people in cages, separating kids from families, all these things, despite the round-the-clock, 24-hour day, 7-day a week, hammering away at these points, the end result is that Trump has gained 10 points with Hispanic voters. Here's the thing that most of these, I work around a lot of Hispanics, and a lot of people from South Central America and Africa, where I work. We have a lot of those people. And I can honestly tell you that a lot of people like to put blacks and Hispanics in the same boat. They're not. They're not. You can't. To some degree, there are, yes, but not in a blanket statement. You can't say Hispanics and blacks all fall into the same. They don't. And they have differences between them and jealousies between them. But also, it's important to realize that a little over 60% of Hispanics that live in this country were born in this country and are U.S. citizens. So when you look out there, across the fruited plain, and the Democrats, they see all the Hispanics in the country. They assume that they're all Democrats. They assume they're all immigrants, first-generation immigrants, and that they automatically buy into the Democratic talking point. What they don't understand is that a lot of these Hispanic immigrants that are here were born here, and they're not all liberals. And many of them own businesses, like the people who clean our facility. It's a Hispanic guy, his wife, I think his sister, and then they got a couple employees, all Hispanic. Speak very little English. Do a great job. Very reliable, very dependable, very nice people. And I would almost guarantee you that they're Republicans. Why? Because he's a small business owner. He is a small business owner. You think he cares about the left-wing claptrap? He doesn't give a damn. He's a small business owner. Got a small cleaning company. He cleans commercial buildings. He's trying to make a living, him and his family. I'm sure he's probably legal. He doesn't speak a lot of English, but he's a very nice guy. And I assume he's legal because everything he's doing here is legal. I doubt if he would get our contract if he was illegal, being as who we are. So anyway, the Democrats don't quite understand this, that not all these Hispanics are libs. Many of them were born here, more than 60% of them, and clearly a lot of them own businesses. A lot of them are independent people. They live here. And many of them are conservative. Will Michael Cohen turn on Trump? No, this is just more BS. No, he won't turn on Trump because he can't. He's got nothing. There's nothing to turn on Trump. If someone was going to turn on Trump, it probably would have been Flynn with the pressure they brought on him. But they found out real quick. He said, yeah, I'll cooperate. Just like Cohen said, I'll cooperate. But I'll cooperate doesn't mean I'm going to make up stuff about Trump. Bottom line is, Flynn has nothing to tell you about Trump-Russia collusion because there was none. Michael Cohen has nothing to tell you about Trump-Russia collusion because there was none. Also, we learned that the DNC lawsuit that we talked about a few months ago, it was a publicity stunt, has been thrown out. The federal judge, citing flimsy evidence, will not let the case go forward. And finally, CNN has now lost to Home and Garden in the recent ratings as they continue to drop further and further. It's bad enough that you're getting beat by Yogi Bear from Nickelodeon. Now they're getting beat by Home and Garden. Oh, God. You guys have a good night. Take care. Bye.